He talks about you've reached the point of success when you make money when you sleep. And I remember hitting that point in business. I woke up and I rolled over and I grabbed my phone and I had 3 sales overnight. Success is so much larger than just net worth. Success is so much bigger than just reputation and achievements. Success holistically is really flourishing. Your family and your mission will rarely be healthier than you are. If I'm just always pouring out and I'm always kind of running on empty or exhausted, then that really has a cumulative deteriorating effect. Those plane tickets would have cost $4,100 each. We got those $4,100 flight tickets for 55,000 points. I actually got about 7.5 cents per point in value. My first 9 months, I earned 1.2 million travel rewards points, which for context, that would be worth about $20,000 in travel value. So I went from broke, burned out, stuck at home to now having the freedom of free travel.
Ready to revolutionize your content game? Meet Modern IQ, the AI tool that creates SEO optimized, plagiarism-free blog posts with just one click. No more writer's block or endless hours of content creation. Generate high-quality articles that boost visibility, save time, and slash marketing costs. Whether you're a startup or an established business, this tool is your content team, marketing expert, and SEO guru in one. Click on the link in the description to claim your free article and join forward-thinking entrepreneurs who are working smarter, not harder. The future of effortless marketing is here. Are you ready to dive in? What if the systems keeping you stuck could also set you free? My guest today lived and worked in one of Pennsylvania's poorest neighborhoods, helping people overcome homelessness, addiction, and prison while barely scraping by himself. Then he discovered travel hacking, earning over 3 million points and unlocking world travel for his family. But it's not just about points, it's about how strategic systems, resourcefulness, and mindset can completely rewire what you believe is possible for your life and your business. Today, as founder of Travel Multiplier, he teaches others both the secrets of travel optimization and how to design a life of freedom and purpose. In this episode, you'll discover how he turned 3 million points into real lifestyle freedom, why restoration isn't a luxury but a necessity for entrepreneurs, the mindset shifts that lets you scale impact without sacrificing family or mission. Let's dive in with lifestyle optimization expert Tim Walker. Welcome to the show, Tim.
Hey, Linda, thanks so much for having me. Looking forward to our conversation.
Same. I'm intrigued by your story and what you've done as well. So just to give the guest a little bit of an overview, tell us about your background and what made you get into that industry and where did this travel? Because I'm excited to learn about your story today and also the travel optimization hacks as well as a business owner. And most founders aren't even tapping into it. So, tell us, take us back to your background and your journey and what made you the man you are today.
Yeah, absolutely. So being based here in the United States, I'm originally from Detroit, Michigan, moved to the northeast corner of Pennsylvania, closer to the East Coast, back in 2008. So I live just south of Scranton, Pennsylvania. So if any of you as listeners are fans of The Office, I live just south of Scranton in a city called Wilkes-Barre. And my introduction to the city of Wilkes-Barre was working with and befriending so many people in the homeless community, people in recovery from addiction, helping people coming out of incarceration and reintegrating into society. So many different things. And really, as those people became my friends, I really just started seeing not just the tangible needs, but the relational needs as well, to really experience wraparound community that would be loving and supportive and helpful and empowering to help them to be able to flourish and reach their full potential. So that led me into nonprofit work, where I've worked in the nonprofit arena, doing a lot of different things with a lot of different organizations, really working on the front lines of poverty alleviation and community development right here in Wilkes-Barre. So I not only work, but I live in the poorest neighborhood in our city, intentionally so. I wanted to put down roots for me and for my family right here, really to just have a redemptive presence in the community and be able to live amongst and walk alongside so many of our friends that are on a journey of recovery and restoration. So in the midst of all of that, I met and married my wife, Heather, about 10 years ago. We're celebrating our 10th wedding anniversary this year. Thank you. I'm a girl dad to my 2 girls. Lucy is 8, Emily is 6. Our family just loves the opportunity to be able to live and lead right here in the poorest neighborhood in the city, and had the privilege of being a part of hundreds of transformative stories of people that we not only reach and serve, but we love and befriend as well.
That's creating quite an impact there. There's a lot of things that I could ask about that. And I'm just curious to know, what was the why between doing this type of work?
Yeah, so I think it's really twofold. One, there's a part of it in my own family history that is deeply personal. So I was actually born 10 weeks early. When I was born, they didn't know if I was going to make it. Major crisis for my family, especially for my dad. When I was born, my dad was a drug addict and an alcoholic, and that crisis point really woke my dad up to really larger realities of life, and really just sent him on a search for hope and help. And some people at that point stepped into my dad's life, really made a big difference. My dad very quickly got clean and sober. So I'm really grateful that I never knew my dad as an addict. I never saw my dad drunk. I never experienced any of that, because my dad cleaned up his life at that point with the help of some very influential people that really made a big difference. And so part of it, I think, just watching how my dad has really worked so hard to really rewrite generational narratives for me, for my kids, for our family. I think there's something deeply transformative about that comes from a place of gratitude. I'm so grateful for the deep work that my dad has done, and the fact that me and so many others are beneficiaries of that in my dad's life. So I think there's a piece of it, in my family journey in history, definitely it's personal, it's relevant, it's firsthand. But then I think the other part of it is I just have a deep passion and burden, and just really for forgotten people and forgotten places. Because I believe everybody has dignity, worth, value, and purpose. And so nobody should be left behind. Nobody should be forgotten. Nobody should be overlooked. Nobody should be invisible, not just to society, but to people and in relationships. And so I've always found myself just with this deep passion for what does it look like to bring visibility to the people and problems that are invisible to many others? What does it look like to not only raise awareness, but what does it look like to really step in an up close and personal way? And really be able to love and serve people in a way that dignifies them, provides dignity and value, to say, hey, I'm not just going to serve you from a distance. I'm going to love you from up close. This is not a transactional encounter. This is a relational invitation with someone who wants to walk through the journey of poverty alleviation or addiction recovery, or going from homelessness to housed, or getting their first job or their first job in a long time, or rewriting the generational narratives for their kids or their grandkids, and so many of those things. So I think there's just a deep firsthand experience, gratitude to be able to reinvest that in people, but also beyond that, just a deep really just burden, value system, priority to be able to prioritize those that many others don't prioritize, and be able to ensure that nobody's overlooked, and be able to really just lean in to ensure that forgotten places and forgotten people are no longer forgotten, but they are loved and served and cared for with dignity, of value, and relationships.
I love that. That's quite powerful. And then I'm guessing you're making a huge impact on people as well. But I also want to talk about mindset as well, because mindset is super important. And, doing your work, what you do, you got to have the right mindset as well. So you once believed meaningful work required financial sacrifice. And what moment shattered that belief for you?
Yeah, so I think in a lot of ways, one of the mindsets that I think is vitally important is oftentimes your family and your mission will rarely be healthier than you are. And so I think it's really important, especially for those in frontline community development work. There is such a high rate of burnout. There's such a deep compassion fatigue that people often experience on the front lines, because they're always pouring out and never being replenished. And so I think that underlying mindset of my mission will rarely be healthier than I am. My organization will rarely be healthier than I am. So if I'm just always pouring out and I'm always kind of running on empty or exhausted and exasperated and not, pursuing being my best self and bringing my best self to be able to serve in the best ways, then that really has a cumulative, deteriorating effect that really ends up making that mission more of a sprint and less of a marathon. Anybody can run hard and fast for a short amount of time, but especially like rootedness and longevity for the sake of poverty alleviation and community development is so essential, because there's a trust factor that comes in that. Oftentimes I've found that people are looking to see, hey, are you going to last? Are you going to stick? Or are you going to be a flash in the pan like other people were? Are you going to burn out and run away like other people did? And so for me, a lot of the mindset has been, hey, I need to make sure that short-term decisions that I'm making now really inform long-term longevity and sustainability in life and family and in leadership. The last thing I want is I would never want as a husband or a father for my wife or my girls to say, man, I love the outcomes that we got to invest in people, but I hate the cost I hate the toll that it took on our family, because, dad always walked in the door fried. Or, other people always got the best of my energy, not my wife or my marriage. So I think that overall principle of like, hey, your family, your mission, your organization will rarely be healthier than you are, really creates a healthy balance value system to say, hey, I need to make sure that I'm being poured into and that I'm being filled up and replenished, so that I can continue to make sure that what I'm doing is flowing out of the overflow of health in who I am and what I'm doing in my personal life, to make sure that I'm bringing my best self even to my professional life as well.
Definitely, because the energy that you bring is very important, and the sustaining energy, especially in your line of work as well. I guess it would drain you, seeing all the addiction. Like, I've seen it on the news as well, and I think it's Pennsylvania, all the streets are pretty bad, and a lot of people, the addicts and stuff. So if you're exposed to that, it's just like counselor work, hearing all the negativity and the drain, it must drain you. So how do you keep your energy up there long term, and what strategies do you do to to make sure that you're fulfilled in a way that you have that energy, the sustenance to be able to give to others long term as well? Do you have certain rituals that you do? Is there something that you always require, a daily ritual that you have to do in order to sustain long term, to be the best version of yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think a big piece of it, there's a lot of habits that I could talk about, but I would say overarching, I would say that there are really, the linchpin for me has been community, and really immersing myself in key relationships on 3 different levels. So I've worked really hard to surround myself with peers, with mentors, and with counselors. So I want to surround myself with peers who are in a similar season of life, family, and leadership. The type of people where, we don't have to work very hard to understand each other, because we're like right in the thick of it. Whether it's, raising elementary age kids, or it's doing frontline community development work, or, we've got some couples that we've all been married about 10 years and we've all kind of like walked that journey together. Those peer relationships are really key. Then I would say the second set of relationships is mentors. And so to be able to have experienced mentors that bring both wisdom and experience. I typically look at people for who's a season ahead of me in life and family and in leadership. So who's somebody that I particularly admire in a certain area? Maybe I admire like them as a parent, or I admire them as a communicator. Maybe I admire them as a counselor. And what I'm often doing is I'm often seeking out mentors, and really have worked hard to hone the skill of asking good questions. How do I ask good questions to be able to show up and ask good questions for people who are season ahead of me, and really can be like pace setters? because they're a little bit farther down the road, they can push me to run farther, faster, and better than where I'm at right now. And I've benefited so much from that collective wisdom and experience. But then there's a third level of relationship, and that would be not just peers, not just mentors, but counselors. People who are able to speak in not just from the voice of experience, but from the voice of expertise. People that can help me, unpack my own like mental health, emotional health. Like part of the gritty urban reality that I'm in is, man, when you've got so many stories of transformation, you also have a lot of stories of loss and trauma and crisis and grief. So, burying a friend after an overdose, or, walking with a family who just lost someone to a mental health battle, or walking with a family that just encountered abuse or crisis or trauma. Like, that's a really heavy load to be able to walk alongside of them, like mental health, emotional health in the midst of that. Not just for them as the people experiencing it, but for me as the person who's walking alongside of them. That's really key. And so having counselors then that have been able to help really cover my blind spots, help me see what I can't naturally see, help me hear what I can't naturally hear. I have a session with my counselor tomorrow. I have a counselor that I meet regularly with. I'll meet with her tomorrow, and I am amazed at just the expertise that she brings to, hey, let me unpack some of the things that I've been living and leading through, and to be able to invite her to speak in as a counselor, other counselors as well, to speak into mental and emotional health and really healthy self-awareness, growth plans, things to ensure that I'm continuing to grow, not just in skill, but also in depth of character and health and all of the ways that those things really impact sustainability. So yeah, I think for me, the key thing for me has been community on those three different levels, surrounding myself and immersing myself in intentional relationships with peers, with mentors, with counselors, and all three of them play really unique and really powerful roles in my life, in my wife's life, in my kids' lives, in our family's life. I'm so grateful for that.
Beautiful. I guess, yeah, it's definitely important to have a therapist or a counselor, especially in the line of work that you do as well. Now, I want to talk about systems and strategy, and I'm really keen to know about, the points and the hacks and the optimization parts, because as a business owner, I've only recently discovered, I had a guest like at the very beginning, and he was talking about points hackers. He's based in Australia as well, but now, I didn't take advantage of it until just recently this year, where I signed up to a website in Australia that helps you, like, all the expenses that you're paying for, whether it be suppliers or you're paying my rent for my businesses as well. You can actually get points, but you've got to pay a little bit extra, So it's a point system where you're basically buying your tickets. And I'm just curious about the optimizations. First of all, what you're doing as well, you're based in the US, so I don't know how it's going to work for other countries as well, but you earned 3 million points, which wasn't luck, it was systems. So what's one of the travel hacking advice tips that every entrepreneur can apply to their business today?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll give you the quick runway of kind of how I got into this. So really for me, travel hacking started about 4 years ago. So travel hacking is simply layering and leveraging credit card rewards for free travel and doing that strategically. So I got into it about 4 years ago because what I found was living and leading on the front lines, everything we were just talking about, I found myself perpetually crushed under the weight of compassion fatigue with no resources to be able to get away and go anywhere or do anything refreshing. It felt like every year my family just had to like beg and borrow just to get somebody to take pity on us or like believe in our mission and be willing to like, hey, here you go, here. We'll help you out with a vacation, or we'll send you this place, or, you can borrow our beach house or something like that. And while I'm grateful for those, there was a piece of it where I finally hit a breaking point where I was like, this isn't sustainable, nor is it scalable. I've really got to be able to find a solution to, we barely make enough money to live on. We don't make enough money to travel. How do I, continue to fulfill my mission in everyday life, but still have an outlet to be able to get away and experience refreshing travel? So I came across travel hacking. I actually took an online course to learn kind of the core basics of it. And then I went so far beyond like the basics that I learned in that course and really mastered it. And in my first 9 months, I earned 1.2 million travel rewards points, which for context, that would be worth about $20,000 US dollar in travel value. So I went from broke, burned out, stuck at home to now having the freedom of free travel. And so started doing it, changed everything for us. I started coaching some family and friends just on the side for fun. And they told me, hey, this is really awesome and you're really good at teaching this. You should turn this into a business. So I did. I started a business called Travel Multiplier, where I help people unlock the secrets of free travel. And so I get the privilege of having a lot of conversations like this, where people are curious and interested and, hey, tell me a little bit more. How does this work? In general, with the caveat, like you said, what I specifically teach is based in the United States economy and the US banking system. Yet, at the same time, I've had the privilege of talking to all kinds of people all over the world. And I can tell you, travel hacking is possible on every continent in our world. So while the specifics of the point systems or the banks or credit cards might vary a little bit by continent based on where you're listening from, I would say there is a transferable framework that applies everywhere. If you're asking the question, hey, how do I get into travel hacking? What are some of those first steps? I would say there's 3 key steps that every person needs to walk through in order to get into travel hacking. Step 1 is to determine your travel goals. Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? What type of trip would you enjoy? And the great thing with travel hacking is there's no one size fits all method. It's not like it's only good for a particular type of travel. It's not like it's good for only particular destinations. Whether you enjoy cruise ships or mountain cabins, whether you enjoy flying or rental cars, whether you enjoy hotels and resorts or house rentals, whatever you prefer, there are travel points that can help you to be able to get those things for free. So step 1 is to determine your travel goals. And my encouragement is always dream big. Like, where would you go if money wasn't an obstacle? Because for many people, money is their obstacle to the type of travel that they're dreaming about. So because money's been an obstacle at a certain point, sometimes people just stop dreaming. That's the worst thing you can do. And what's great about travel hacking is travel hacking helps those dreams become a reality. So step 1 is determine your travel goals. Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? What type of trip would you most enjoy? Then comes step 2. And step 2 is signing up strategically for the right credit cards that align with your travel goals. So thinking about maybe you're someone who hates to fly. If you hate to fly or you're terrified of flying, well, getting a credit card that earns you airline points probably isn't going to be too fitting for your preferred travel method. So maybe you wouldn't want to do that. But once you figure out your travel goals, then that can help you figure out which cards do you want to prioritize. And then at that point, what you're doing is simply using those cards for your everyday expenses. When you're putting gas in your car, or you're buying food at the market, or you're paying for your utilities, or you're paying for your cell phone, or going out with friends for entertainment, like whatever you're doing, wherever you're going, whatever you're already spending money on, it's not about spending more money than you already spend. It's not about spending money that you don't have. It's not about going into debt or taking on interest or anything like that. It's simply the expenses that you already have, strategically channeling those through the right credit cards that can help you earn a significant amount of points. Then comes step 3, which is maximizing those rewards for free travel. So for many people, they can earn the points, but they don't do a great job of maximizing the value of those points. Again, speaking US dollar for a second, for many people in the United States, they would typically earn some points and they might cash those points out at a penny per point. And so essentially that would be about 1% back that they're getting on their everyday spending. Yet, here's the power of points. My wife and I just got to go on a 2-week anniversary trip to Europe. So we flew from the United States to Europe. We flew in lay flat business class seats. We spent 2 weeks traveling all around Europe, exploring World War II history and the Alps, went to 6 different countries. The entire trip would have cost $25,000 if we were paying in cash, and we got the entire trip for free. with our points. But here's a great example of maximizing the value, an example from that trip. So we flew from the United States, from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania to Amsterdam in the Netherlands. We flew there in lay flat business class seats. So we literally had like a cubicle to ourselves. Like we each had our own cubicle. They gave us a 3-course catered meal. It was an overnight flight. So eventually lay your bed down flat and go to sleep in the flight while everybody else is like crammed into economy in the back. And so we got to do that. Those plane tickets would have cost $4,100 each. We didn't pay that like everybody around us did. We got those $4,100 flight tickets for 55,000 points. So 55,000 points in America is what most people would cash out for $550 cash back. But rather than cashing out for $550, I leveraged 55,000 points for a $4,100 plane ticket, which means that my points weren't worth a penny a piece. I actually got about 7.5 cents per point in value. And so if you're able to not just earn points, but then maximize those rewards for free travel, maximize the value of those, it is a complete game changer with what opportunities that opens up for you.
Wow. And tell us how to some strategies to maximize these points, if you can share those tips.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of it is looking to be able to search. There are actually some specific point search tools that can search like airlines and hotels and some. So think of it like Google, rather than going on Google and searching for cheap hotels or flights or whatever. Instead, you can use some of these point search tools to be able to search. Let's say you want to go to Singapore, or let's say you want to go to London, or let's say you want to go to Paris or wherever. Then you could search flights to Paris. You could search hotels, resorts in Paris, and it's going to show you, hey, you could book these places for this amount of points. And so then you're looking at how many points would it cost you versus how much would it actually cost you in currency if you were paying, in currency for those, and looking at, am I getting a good return on value for those points, so that those points aren't just worth, again, in my context, a penny per point. In my context, what I typically teach people how to do is how to maximize those points by redeeming them for 3 to 10 cents per point in value, which helps the value of those grow exponentially in how you be able to redeem those.
I like that. That's definitely interesting. And coming from when you're talking about your background, like what you had to experience living in poverty to now changing that shift, that mindset shift of traveling business class as well. So that's something that you have to transition your mind for as well. And, I'm just curious to know, did you have any mindset shifts that you had to change, from about worthiness as well and deserving, to unlearn how to fully embrace both the freedom and doing the service that you love, but also having the freedom to travel business class as well. So was there a mindset shift that you had to change, about especially worthiness as well?
Yeah, I think in terms of worthiness, I never had a personal insecurity about it. So for me, I would look at it and I would say like, hey, I will never apologize nor feel bad for investing in replenishment. Like I don't struggle with that from am I worthy of this? Do I deserve this? I don't have that insecurity internally, but I have wrestled with the insecurity externally. Meaning, like, how are people going to think about us knowing like they've never left our city and we just left the country? Are they going to be suspicious of, wait, hold on, is there some type of like, is he living above us? Is there like, how does that work? Like, does that produce a trust barrier with people? So I definitely had to work through that. And then I just got to the point where I think part of it is from a boundaried standpoint to say, hey, I'm responsible for me. I'm not responsible for other people's reaction. So if other people try to impose some type of worthiness standard where they would say, if you're going to work in poverty, you need to live in poverty. You shouldn't be able to leave the country. You should just never do that. The people that you serve can't leave the country, so you shouldn't either. I would look at that and I would say, hey, I can validate and like appreciate humbly that emotion that they're expressing. Well, at the same time, I don't have to internalize that. And I don't have to let their standards end up impacting my standards, which then impact my health. And so part of it has been just an ability to be able to process through that with wisdom and with accuracy to say, hey, if there is any like external insecurity about how people are going to react, like it's okay. Like I don't have to be liked by everybody. I don't have to obsess about, what people think or what they react. I don't think that was the biggest mindset shift for me. That was one. That was probably the underlying one that I've really had to like dig up and root out. I would say the larger one for me was when you're used to cutting cost, you're accustomed to cutting corners. And so for me, part of that whole like, hey, dream big, all of that, it was hard because I'm just so used to living frugally. Like, hey, I'll eat low quality food because we can't afford anything better. Or, hey, we'll take a really inconvenient flight because that's all we can afford. Or we'll stay in a pretty junky hotel because that's all we could do. Those were all the things that were true before travel hacking. And so now going into it, the big mindset shift for me was I'm not going to settle for the type of travel that leaves me more exhausted than when I left. So I'm going to skip the junky flight. I'm going to avoid the ratty hotel. I'm actually going to optimize and maximize for maximum replenishment. And that means we can fly in business class. We can stay in luxury resorts and hotels. We can afford to cover high-end food with our points and some of those things because now we don't have to cut corners because we're not worried about cutting cost. The cost is covered by our points. And so the biggest mindset shift for me was, I think, that escape from that kind of like scarcity mindset.
Yeah.
We can't go nice places. We can't do nice things. We can't, enjoy the best options because that's unattainable. Well, now that's no longer unattainable. I've just got to make sure that we don't resign ourselves to settling for less if we don't have to.
Yes, that scarcity mindset is something that you have to overcome. But then once you travel multiple times and you have all those experiences, it's hard to go back, I guess.
It is. It really is. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that you got the dream big part of things as well. Because, some people have that limited, they don't dream big enough, so that they don't feel worthy enough as well. But I think once you start doing it and taking those baby steps to dream big and believe that anything is possible, and then if you put your mind to solutions-focused growth as well, then anything is achievable. So you can do it. So yeah, and I think what you've created is pretty powerful as well. So I'm curious to know about your business and scaling. So you created a business to optimize and help people, and you served one-to-one, and now you're building a scalable business. Mm-hmm. So what mindset shift was required to see that as well, that scaling is required to see as more meaningful as well as one-to-one? Because I believe that scaling, if you want growth, you have to scale as well. But what was that mindset shift?
I think the mindset shift for me was I'm unwilling to trade more time for more money. So there's been nothing technically restricting me from getting a second job this whole time that I've been here. In my 14 years, I could have easily said, hey, I'm not making enough in my community development job. Let me go get a night shift job. So I'll work my day job as my full-time thing, and then I'll work night job but I do that because I knew that would just burn me out, wear me out. So even in getting into travel hacking, and teaching others really maintaining that mindset shift to say, I'm unwilling to trade, giving up more time in order to make more money. So right off the bat, there was an eye towards scalability from day one. I'm going to build this in such a way where whether I have 2 people or I have 20,000 people works for both. And so for me, what I chose to do, there's an author named Tim Ferriss that a number of years ago wrote a popular book called The 4-Hour Workweek. Many of you who are entrepreneurs, that's our favorite manifesto for some. And I think Tim Ferriss was one of the first to really talk about this whole idea of, online, on-demand, evergreen content. That once you build something, you create like an automated, scalable, deliverable pipeline and pathway and platform that now, once you've built it, well, now you've got delivery mechanisms in place that at any point, anybody can get it. And so he talks about, you've reached the point of success when you make money when you sleep. And I remember hitting that point in business because for me, what I did is I said, okay, I've got all of this travel hacking knowledge. I've mastered this personally. And I mean, I've spent hundreds of hours researching this, refining this, like really curating all of the content to ensure that like I've got this thing nailed. And so at that point, then it was looking at, okay, I'm going to offer an on-demand course where people at any point can enroll in my course and I'll guide them from nothing to everything, from start to finish. I'll walk them step by step through the process, but I'll structure that in such a way where it's online, on-demand, evergreen content where they can enroll in my course at any point. And I never have to show up live on camera. I don't have to be on the other end of a phone. I've packaged everything where it is as accessible as they are ready. So starting out, I started doing it. I started to see that grow, and little by little, I found more and more. And then I remember the morning where I woke up and I rolled over and I grabbed my phone and I had 3 sales overnight. And I was like, this is it. I just made money while I slept. This is great. I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to, talk to anybody. I didn't have to do it and this is what's great. Now I've positioned it where, my community development work is my mission. That's my life. That's my priority, my lifestyle. So what I didn't want to do is say, hey, I'm going to help less people in my community because I'm selling to more people online. And now that I've got to do all these coaching calls and I got to do all these things. And so for me, I've just said, no, I've got a scalable thing that really has created on-demand content where it is ready, it's set, it's good to go. And so there it is. I think for all of us as business owners, if we could operate off of that paradigm where my product, my service, my content is as accessible as people are ready. And if we're able to do that in ways that don't create extra demands and constraints on our schedule, well, that's a game changer. Anybody, I think one of the kind of downsides of the entrepreneurial world is what I would consider the shadow side of hustle culture. So, we talk as entrepreneurs like, hey, I got to hustle. And there's this like drive and, that part of the great thing about being an entrepreneur is you've got a wide open thing that you can do. Part of the bad thing about being an entrepreneur is you have a wide open thing. So you can stay up till 2 a.m. You can endlessly obsess about it. You can just give and give and give and give. But if you can say, hey, you know what? I'm not going to give into that hustle culture where, I work 40 hours, 50 hours in my day job, and then I pour 40 hours of my evenings and weekends into hustling for my side gig. Well, a 90-hour week at a certain point is going to run you down. It's going to catch up with you. It's going to burn you out. And so I think sometimes like in the entrepreneurial world, hustle culture is like over glorified as like in order to be successful, you have to assimilate into hustle culture where you just hustle and do and do and go and run and run. And I think what people miss is I think that's a really actually shallow and incomplete picture of success because I think we have to ask not just what's the financial cost, what's my profit and loss, what's my bottom line, but what's the opportunity cost? If you're so busy that, isolation, if you're so busy that isolation has, caused you to retreat from community, if you're so stressed out all the time that you're really anxious, if you're in a point where you feel like, man, I'm successful in terms of my net worth, my bottom line, my profit margins. But the question becomes, at what cost? What's the opportunity cost? What's the health cost of that? Because success is so much larger than just net worth. Success is so much bigger than just reputation and achievements and accolades in the business world. Success holistically is really flourishing as a person, as a family, ensuring that your character isn't eroding along the way and you're not making compromises in order to get ahead, ensuring that, financial stability and security and growth and scalability is really important. But I think you need to scale in order for scalability to be an essential component of overall holistic health. And scalability is really essential for longevity, where when you can build scalability in a way where your scalability impacts you flourishing more, you working less and making more, like those are the types of areas in which, when you've done that, it's a game changer. So I'm really grateful that what I've been able to do, I've continually been able to grow my reach, grow my influence, grow my profits, grow my student base, all of that. But the product's set. Like it's there, it's ready, it's accessible, and it's scalable for however many people I have the privilege of helping unlock those secrets of free travel.
I love that. And with your courses, are you trying to sell because there's some courses that people are selling that are high ticket, so that there's less, I don't know, is your course low ticket so that you can reach as many people, or is it more high ticket so that you're reaching an exclusive amount of people?
Yeah, great question. So I offer a low ticket course and high ticket coaching. So I am willing to work one-on-one with a select amount of people.
Mm-hmm.
If they're willing to go high ticket for the price, okay, well, that's maybe a half an hour a month of time or something like it. It's not a huge demand on my time, but it's a significant boost to my profits. But for me on the course side, I would say in a lot of ways, I get the privilege to help those who are where I was. And the thing is, like when you're in a spot where you barely make enough money to live on, you don't make enough money to travel, you're travel starved in a lot of ways. Like because you don't have very much money to spend on travel, you also don't have very much money to spend on a course. And so for me, I've positioned it to be accessible to say, hey, I'm going to position this as a low ticket course that is accessible to everyone and attractive to everyone. So what's great is I don't really pour money into advertising or those types of things. What I find is that successful students recruit future successful students. So, I've got so many people that are posting on social media or texting their friends or saying, hey, this was life-changing for me. This could be life-changing for you. Or even I've had people that have started gifting my course to others. It's like a Christmas gift. It's a wedding gift. It's a birthday gift, where what I love is it is accessible to all. And part of that probably comes out of my mission, my passion, my lifestyle of working in such an impoverished community. I think that oftentimes some of the best resources are positioned out of reach for the people who need them most. I think sometimes there is such an inaccessibility to what people really need because there's such a thick paywall that things are behind. So for me, I always have students come back and say, hey, you significantly undercharge and over-deliver. You do know that, right? Yeah, I do. I'm happy to do that because I get the privilege of empowering more people in an accessible way. And am I maximizing profits? Probably not. But do I get maximum joy because I get to see such gratitude in people that I've helped to make this accessible for? Absolutely. And that for me is totally worth it.
Oh, that's beautiful. What's your definition of success? How would you personally define it?
Yeah, I think for me, I would view success as holistic flourishing. So what does it look like to flourish in every area of life? Another way to say it would be, I think you know that you are flourishing holistically when the people who know you the best respect you the most. And so when you think about it, there are people that oftentimes are publicly successful and impressive. Those from a distance will celebrate them. And those up close and personal go, you don't know what they're like behind closed doors. You don't know what toll their success actually took on them or took on those who are closest to them. And so for me, I think I would say my definition of success is to be able to flourish in all areas of life, to be able to holistically experience health, physically, mentally, emotionally, relationally, financially, where it's not like you have to just pin yourself down to one. Or like, hey, I've been successful in relationships, but that came at the expense of my physical or emotional health, or hey, I was successful financially, but my family was not healthy at all. Those types of things. I think to be able to achieve success is to be in a place where you're able to engage in holistic flourishing in every area of your life.
Powerful. I like that. That's similar to how I believe it as well. If if you're fulfilled in different aspects that are important to you, like for me, it's health. It's definitely health, relationships, the wealth part as well, spiritual. That's something very important. And I guess the financial and impact on helping others as well. So, when you can work on all those and be fulfilled in all those parts, then that's personally how I define success. This has been a great conversation. Is there any key message that you want to leave with our audience? Anything that I've missed?
No, I mean, I think you've done a great job of setting up all angles of the conversation, whether it's the story that has really been written throughout this journey, the why behind it, not just what to do, but the key mindset shifts that will either empower or restrict pursuit of that. Yeah, I think my encouragement is there is such an abundance of freedom in free travel. And so if I can be a help at any point, you check out my website, travelmultiplier.com. Love to have you check that out. Love to work alongside of you. If you're in the U.S., working in the U.S. banking systems, my content would be perfectly tailored for what you're looking for. Outside of that, I would recommend hopping on Google or whatever AI tool you prefer, and specifically researching the nuance of, say, travel hacking in Asia or travel hacking in Europe or Australia or wherever you happen to find yourself, because there's some really good, accessible, free resources out there as well.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.